What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. Today I got a good guest on. He's a super left-leaning guy, Democrat to the T,
I'll kill you.
loves AOC, had Biden-Harris 2020 stickers on his
That's
vehicle,
me.
very big advocate, part of the Davos group, or wants to be, aspires to be. Yeah, and definitely a fan of the World Economic Forum. Welcome to the
Mm,
podcast, James. How are you doing, Mr.
yes, all
James
of those
Scott?
things. All of the above. That is me. Yep. I'm Biden Harris 2024 too, baby. I need some more of this bumbling bullshit where we can't put full sentences together.
Right? Isn't that
It's
crazy?
it's amazing. I think my favorite is Truba Dama Shamana Pressure and as Zeta says Zetametafun. All of his gaffes are just epic beyond all belief. And then follow it up with his genius vice president, who is the walking incarnation of Google autofill. Or if we just slam words together, we don't know where we're going or what we're saying, but we're going to go somewhere with our sentences, maybe.
Maybe. That's a big maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, it has to flabbergast me. I kind of don't pay too much attention to it anymore because it's just like, what are we doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when he had some speech over the 4th of July, Joe Biden did, where he's like, being an American, and then he's like, washing machines
Nonsense word.
inside of a blue car that goes through a helicopter. It's like, what are you talking
Dude, at
about?
this point in time, it looks like elderly abuse. Like they're just like he's a meat puppet, and they're like just dragging him out and like making him say things. Like, how many drugs is this dude on to come out and like be able to attempt to put together coherent sentences? Because he's not all with it, and it's like bleeding obvious to everybody but the left, or they just don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a conspiracy nut. I'll get into it if you want me to tell you what I think's going on. But at the
Dude, I
same,
would love to hear. I'm not opposed to anything. I'm not
but
opposed to hearing anything.
well, I believe in this guy Klaus Schwab. I don't believe in him. Like I don't believe what he stands for. And I've done deep dive researches on him. And Lane Kendall will probably disagree, and a lot of people disagree. Uh, but the writing's just on the wall with this shit. It's like if you look at Klaus Schwab and you look at Yuval Noah Harari, and even who follows those people and who goes to that World Economic Forum. I know Lane Kendall's like, everybody goes to that thing. Even Donald Trump went to it.
Yeah.
But there's a certain group of people that do go that do, I believe, comply with whatever this guy Klaus Schwab
Yeah.
wants them to do. And I feel like Klaus Schwab has his hand in a lot of leading government officials such as Joe Biden, BlackRock that
They're just acquiring one asset after another after another.
well, guess what? The head CEO is a very big member of the World Economic Forum, and then
Yeah.
you have Justin Trudeau in Canada, who also loves that place.
Yep.
There's just all these leaders that are set in place, and then they have like the World Economic Forum has a thing called Young Leaders of the World or something like that. Young Global Leaders, and the names in that is just lining up with everybody who's kind of dictating their countries right now. And
Yeah.
so, they rolled out the vaccines, and they talk about basically, we will know you better than you know yourself. Like,
That stuff is creepy, man. I don't know the guy's name. I don't know these people by name, but I have watched a couple of interviews with one of his leading guys at the World Economic Forum, and there was one interview where he was talking about biometric stuff in your body, and he was talking about prescription pills that basically send like a Wi-Fi message to the pharmaceutical company when that particular pill has been ingested so that they know that you're taking your meds. That's creepy.
that's Yuval Noah Harari. He's
Is it? Okay.
yeah,
I didn't know his name. I thought it might be him.
he's like Klaus Schwab's predecessor. So when Klaus Schwab dies, Yuval Noah Harari is taking over. And not only that,
Nice.
but the guy who runs Facebook, what is his name? I forget.
Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg, he loves him, and he says like
Well, that's, I
you've
mean,
all know Harari is like who he looks up to. He
good
finds
for
him
him.
very fascinating, very intriguing, and he loves his work. And
Well,
there,
aliens from
yeah,
another planet would find communism fascinating, wouldn't they?
yes, yes, they would. So, all right, to swerve away from conspiracies because I literally could make this a conspiracy podcast of
I
where
don't
my
think that
head's at.
you're not. I don't think you're that far off with the World Economic Forum stuff. They've
Yeah,
made their agenda very clear in multiple articles that you can find on the internet, and they've done it multiple times. If you look at what's going on in Sri Lanka, there was a article that was posted. I can't remember who it was, but there was an article that was talking about Sri Lanka, and it was written a few years ago, and it was talking about the things that the World Economic Forum is trying to do, introducing social credit scores, community-based farming, community-based this, community-based that, and now Sri Lanka is like collapsing in on itself like a dying star. And the World Economic Forum was so bothered by this that they went out of their way to get back on their website and remove that article because Sri Lanka is like falling apart.
yeah. Lane was trying to tell me, if Sri Lanka was part of the World Economic Forum, why did the leader leave on a Navy ship or something? I'm not sure exactly what Lane said, so don't take that to heart, Lane. But Lane was trying to tell me something along the lines of like, well, if the World Economic Forum was trying to do this, this wouldn't have happened in Sri Lanka or something. And yeah, anyways, I can't really vouch for it because I can't remember exactly what he said. But yes,
Yeah,
you were correct with Sri Lanka and what's happening there and how like this whole idea of like, hey, let's stop the fuel, like let's shut the Keystone pipeline down, let's do all this and basically make us Russia's little bitch. And then all of a sudden like we go to this weird, so right now it's a cold war, we're just sending them money and there is a hot war going on there, but Putin has what I believe he has everybody's balls in his hands right now. Like a lot of
he
people,
definitely has Europe's in his hand. I mean,
oh man,
dude, Donald Trump 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when he was over there talking to the Germans, and he was like, "You guys need to like get a handle on your energy." Like, there's YouTube videos of him talking about this. You guys need to get off of Russian energy because he's going to cut you off at the knees. He'll do it. And there's
yeah,
video of like the people at I think it was the United Nations, and they're literally the Germans are literally laughing at him and making jokes amongst themselves. And here we are, and he
yeah,
cut off a bunch of their energy. And now they're
yeah.
like, "Oh, I guess we better fire these coal plants back up and turn our nuclear plants back on."
Yeah, I think a lot of Europe is in for a big taste of scarcity here pretty soon, and like
Yeah,
they're all gonna face the.
we'll be lucky to escape some of that stuff, man.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like us Americans we will be okay, but for how long I don't know, and like I don't know the extent of how insane everything is that's going on right now, and I don't know if this train of insanity will eventually slow down and stop, or if it's just going to pick up speed and keep going and say China takes over Taiwan and then we got that whole bag of worms to open up
Oh, I know.
and
Yeah.
then that's going to be insane and then that actually could lead to a World War III hot scenario.
I mean, you really, yeah. It's I don't think it's that or it's civil war. Like, I mean, I look abroad and I look at Russia and Ukraine and all that stuff going on, and that to me seems an awfully lot like a proxy war. And you talked about having me do some of the another podcast with you and Lane. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put Lane on blast, but when I talked to him last about Russia stuff, he made the point that Russia just kind of throws bodies at the problem. That's not a lot of strategy, and I think that that's true. But I think if you take that logic and apply it to the United States, we just have a tendency to throw money at the problem, which
That's a good
is
point.
so what, $80 billion. And I know it wasn't actual USD. A lot of it was equipment and stuff sent to Ukraine. But to what end? That's
Yeah.
my question with Russia and Ukraine. Like, to what end? Like, there is no clear lines of victory for me, for anybody, I don't think. Like, what, Russia being repelled? If you're going to do that, if you're going to have to get Russia out of Ukraine, the bottom line is Ukraine doesn't have the army to handle it, and we're going to have to step up and do that. You going to
Yeah,
send a bunch of United States kids, young kids over there to die for this?
I sure
And
hope
then you,
not. But yeah,
and then you're right though. You've got China on top of that.
well, you
So it's
like
this.
Lane said Ukraine, if we did nothing and Ukraine would just sweep through, or Russia would sweep through Ukraine, he thinks they would eventually go after other countries. I don't know if that's the case.
I don't.
I could be a
Yeah.
clear idiot because I don't read up on a lot of stuff.
Sure.
I'm starting to, but
Sure.
if say for instance, say Putin takes over Ukraine, boom, takes the whole thing over. I have a feeling he would stop. He would have his he would have that port that he wants, or maybe he already had it, but he would have that whole, I don't know, country. So maybe that would
Yeah.
satisfy him. I don't know if he would then be like, I'm going to take Poland. Like I don't know if if
I don't.
he's that nuts, but he could be that
No, I
nuts.
don't. I don't know. I think he's a thug, and I think he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
But I think also, and this is another thing you can look up on YouTube. There's a video of George the First, talking about we're not going to put NATO forces in so and so countries, and then we've done nothing for the last 30 or 40 years but put NATO forces right on Russia's doorstep.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
question is, for me, is why didn't we just invite them to join NATO instead of punishing them and treating them like enemies for the last 30 or 40 or 50 years? That's what started World War II, was the Treaty of Versailles. The German people felt so slighted and punished because of what they did that it didn't calm things down. It just riled them right back up.
Yeah.
It goes to what Abraham Lincoln said at the end of the Civil War, with malice towards none and charity towards all. And if you're just going to continue to treat people like they're the bad dogs that got into the garbage, they're going to act out. You
Well,
continually put NATO forces on their freaking borders, and Putin is like, "Hey, can you guys like knock that shit off? Hey, Ukraine, can you not join NATO?" And Ukraine's just like gives him the bird. Like he feels threatened.
yeah.
And I don't think that what he's doing is illogical, but I don't think he's Hitler. I don't think he's going to roll over all of Europe. So I don't know. For me, I take a very not pragmatic, that's not the right word. I take a very dogmatic view on foreign policy when it comes to wars, and that's stay the crap out of it.
Yeah.
Because it seems like we don't do anything but muddle things up whenever we get involved. Just as much as it sucks for the Ukrainian people, leave him alone and
Yes.
let him do what he's going to do, because realistically, morally, we don't care that much. If we cared about the morals of it, we'd be in China freaking 3 years ago when we found out they were putting people in concentration camps.
That's where
But
it's
we're
it's very hypocritical, or hypocrisy of us, like
Yeah,
as a sovereign nation, the United States.
exactly.
Like we're
But we're
sitting
not
here.
doing that.
No, if we were going off of like legitimate tyranny is what's causing us to influence ourselves into war, we would have been in North Korea a long time ago,
Yeah, or China
and
in the last 2 years.
we'd be
Yep.
like, screw the nukes, like we just got to help them. We got to help them. In China,
Yeah,
same
no.
thing.
So the moral
Um,
argument for me flies out the window.
have you seen the Terminal List on Amazon Prime with Chris Pratt?
No, I haven't yet, but I do like him and I like his movies, so
I
I
just
would like to
started
watch it.
I just started watching that probably like 4 nights ago, and I think I'm on the last episode tonight.
Oh,
Man,
it's a series?
yeah, it's a great series, but it'll definitely, I mean, I'm a conspiracy nut, so that's what I enjoy, and this is definitely like a military conspiracy TV show, and he's in the thick of it, and you're gonna enjoy the show. Anybody listening who hasn't seen it, I promise you will enjoy it, and
Yeah.
they did a very good job with this one. But
Plus he's so likable.
oh, Chris Pratt's the man.
Yeah, he's a
I
great actor.
I listen to a podcast. I forget what it's called, but it's these three celebrities. Um, oh, what is it called? Let me look real quick. Just because I want you guys to look it up. It's really good. My sister actually told me about it a couple days ago, or a week ago. She sent it to me. So, oh, here it is. It's called Smartless, and it's with Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnett. And
Nice.
those three are the hosts, and they have on all celebrities. And they're actually pretty genuine guys. They love to talk about playing golf and all sorts of stuff. And then they had Chris Pratt on, and they asked him, how did you get discovered? Weren't you homeless in Hawaii? And he's like, no. He was like, I was doing door to door sales, and when I was 18, and I was doing really good at it. And then I just, didn't want to do it anymore. And I had a friend who was well off who lived on the islands, and he asked me to come visit. And so I just packed a suitcase and I went out there and I worked at Bubba Gump Shrimp.
Nice.
He's like, I lived in my van by the ocean, and uh, I just enjoyed life. And I was a waiter at Bubba Gump Shrimp, and this director or producer came up to me and just was like, "You're a cute guy. You should be in film," or some BS like that. And he's like, "Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I'll do any TV show you want me to be on. Like, where on the island are you filming?" And he's like, "No, you have to fly to LA." So he flies to LA, and he says he got every audition because when he was a sales rep going door to door, he had to learn how to sell himself real quick to
Mm.
get their attention. And he's like, yeah, so I'd go to all these movie casts, and he's like, I'd get the role instantly, but then I didn't know how to act. And they'd be like, well, like, so he's just an interesting guy, like, all
That's
around.
awesome.
And I love how he is very, conservative and still
Yeah,
inside
he's a
the
big hunter.
Hollywood bubble.
Yep. Yep.
Maybe people like that. Well, clearly, I mean, this new TV show, he did a very good job at representing, I don't know, whatever he represented, just the soldier that he was. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's the bee's knees. I love Chris Pratt.
Yeah. See, now you're talking culture war stuff, and I'm big into that because I think that a lot of my, I would say, right leaning / conservative friends feel like we're the right, as it were, is losing. And I completely disagree. I think that the left is completely and totally imploding in on themselves. They're very, very loud, but the fact remains that in my lifetime, in the last 5 or 10 years, I've seen the rise of guys come out of nowhere, like Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, who else? Dennis Prager, Tim Pool, Louder with Crowder. I mean, dude, you name it. Daily Wire they just announced the other day that they've got 890,000 subscribers,
Damn,
and that they surpassed Disney in podcasts.
damn.
Like, dude, the left is losing because they don't know how to message things. They only know how to be outraged about stuff.
Yeah, there's part of me growing up in Kansas that I didn't know what I was because I was a pothead for a little bit, and pot was illegal. And I was like, why is it illegal here and it's legal in California? Like
Yeah.
I go to California, and I rip a bong with some cool people, enjoy the sunset, and I get the best sleep of my life, and I wake up great. So it's like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, so why? And then I go back to Kansas, and they're like, yeah, you will be thrown in jail for 6 months if we catch you with an ounce of
No,
weed.
it's so
And
dumb. It's
and
so
so
dumb.
that part of me was like, maybe I'm more Democrat. I was like, maybe I'm libertarian. And so I've never really labeled myself one or the other because I feel like George W. Bush Jr., he was part of the Clinton, George Bush's, Obama's, like he was a part of that deep state nastiness.
The
In my
uniparty.
Yes, and
Yeah.
so for me to just side with that's why I really like Donald Trump. I liked him. I was like, this guy's shooting from the hip like a Wild West cowboy, but he's hitting every mark, and he loves this country. He's made it very
Mhm.
clear. I know he was like a mob boss, you know what I mean? He was not the best guy, but
So
he was a good
that's
guy for the job.
yeah, Trump is funny. Trump is what led to me being very red pilled, actually. And it was like a slow IV drip for me because he showed up, and I was, at the time, I was a very, very traditional, I would say, conservative, big R Republican. Like, I thought that if Republicans got in charge, like they could handle it better, they could manage it better, whatever. Very, very red. And he showed up, and I didn't like him. I
You
didn't
didn't
like the
like
way he
him?
talked. No, oh, I hated him. I hated him.
Okay.
I didn't like the way he talked. I didn't like the way he debated. I didn't like his interaction with the media. Just everything about him bugged me. And part of it was because of the way that he was on the debate stage. I didn't like the way that he went after people. And it really bugged me. It was like, this dude's not a Republican. He's a New York liberal Democrat. I don't want anything to do with him. He's hijacking the Republican Party. Blah, blah, blah. Cry me a river. I vote third party. Bleh. And the red pilling came when he won in 16. And I had the same attitude that I had towards Obama when Obama won in 08, which was, I don't believe in you, but you've got the job. Let's see what you can do. And it was like I said, it was like an IV drip. First, it was the protesters and the pussy hats, literally the day after he got inaugurated. And I'm like, what are you protesting? He's literally been in office for 24 hours and has done nothing. What the fuck are you doing? You
Yeah.
look like a crazy person. And then it was Russiagate, Russiagate, Russiagate. Just all the time Russia. And that wore on me. And I was like, just can you talk about something else? Can we please talk about policies? Anything but Russiagate, for fuck's sake. And then I think the last drop for me when I realized that the left leaning media was completely full of shit was I watched, God help me that I did it, but I watched an episode of Rachel Maddow. And the big thing for Rachel was that she'd found his taxes. Oh my God, we've got the taxes. And I heard about it. She hyped it up for an hour. And I was like, okay, like just show me. And I got to the end of the episode only to learn that Donald Trump had paid $35 million in taxes in like 2013 or something. And I was like, that's fucking it? That's what you've been hyping me up on for months? That's what you've been hyping me up on for the last hour? Is that he paid $35 million in taxes? That is more taxes than I will ever pay in my entire lifetime. It's more taxes than you will ever pay in your lifetime. And
Yeah.
that was when I was like, I'm done. Full on. I was like, Trump, 2020. I don't care. I don't care about any of you. I love Donald Trump, and you're all stupid. But that's when that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, because I had spent a lot of time not liking him, and then he got in office, and it was like they were just like these petulant little children incessantly throwing fits. And then I watched an hour-long episode of Rachel Maddow, who's like the most annoying lesbian in the world, show me that Donald Trump paid $35 million in taxes. And it's like, cool.
Yeah, it's
I'm out.
you made me relive 2016 to 2019 right there.
Yeah.
And
That's what the whole thing.
I
And it
mean,
was like,
it was an
everybody's got
attack
a
on
final
him.
straw.
It was an attack on him ever since he rolled down those escalators. Like, it was a complete and utter media attack, constant attack. That they didn't care if we got bombed by North Korea. They were like, it somehow was always Donald Trump, and it was somehow it's still his fault. I have my friend, a really liberal friend, who anytime I bring something up or post something, kind of just throwing a little bit of shade at the Dems, like kind of like, what the fuck are you guys doing? He will message me and be like, well, Donald Trump was worse than that because he did this, and I'm like, homie, just own up to the guy you voted for, own up to the mistakes he's making, but they won't, and
I have one person.
well, there's one person at work.
Hope.
There's one. You know what? I agree with you, because there is one person at work that what I was kind of playing stupid with him, and I was like, it was voting day. I was like, yeah, man, who should I vote for? And he's like, oh, vote Biden, dude. Like, get that. If Trump wins tomorrow, I'm gonna puke. I'm gonna be sick. I just, I'm sneaky like that, like just trying to figure out, like, oh, I'm dumb. Who should I vote for?
Yeah.
Just to see what they'll say. And so that right then I was like, really, you're gonna vote for that dude? That's crazy. And then he was all gung ho for him at the beginning, and then just as of recently, he came up to me and he's like, "Hey, Bubba, chill, dude." He's like, he basically said, like, he doesn't really represent me. I just couldn't see Trump in there. I just couldn't get Trump.
Oh
I couldn't
God.
have Trump in there. So he got my vote. Like
Orange man bad at
he pulled
all
the
costs.
I know that the United States is going to shit, but I'd rather have that than have Trump in there and the economy be fantastic and us have our Keystone pipeline up and us basically our fuel back down to $3 a gallon.
I spent $75 filling up a freaking mower the other day
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
because it's Illinois is like it's not quite like California, but it's damn expensive. And
That's
it's
where you're
cost
at,
me
huh?
No, I'm in Kansas City. I was out in Illinois working. I go out on the road and take care of these towers once every month.
Yeah, explain what you do to the listeners.
So, um, so I work for we are a vegetation management company. It's called Forerunner Tower Maintenance, and we run around to these cell phone towers and basically we take care of the grounds around the towers. We apply herbicide to the access roads, inside the compound, outside the compound. We mow guide paths. We clean up the access roads if they're brushing up against your pickup truck, and basically just get the site fit for people to do work. And we go to these sites in some cases once a year. In most cases, it's twice a year we visit these towers. But that's not what I'm doing in particular. I'm out and going doing what are called our extra mows, and a lot of these towers, these guys, they don't just own the tower, like the property that the tower sits on. They own like the acreage around it, and so a lot of it's in cities, and they need it to be upkept. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I've been in the tower business for 10 years now. So
Yeah, you used to call me like 10 years ago or whatever, 8 years ago, you'd call me and
yep,
we'd catch up. You'd be like, "Yeah, man, I'm in Nashville right now or I'm in the hills of Tennessee." And like you always
yep.
would
I've
take
been all over
pictures.
the U.S., bro. It is much easier for me to name the states that I have not been to than it is for me to name the states that I have been to at this point in time.
That's cool.
So
Yeah.
it's
No,
it's really cool. I've seen a lot of the country, and it affords me a lot of really neat opportunities to take really cool pictures. But I think the coolest thing is seeing all of it's just seeing all of the United States in basically its entirety. Like I've seen almost all of the Appalachian Mountains. I've done sites in the Rockies. I've done sites in the Sierra Nevadas. I've done sites in the Redwoods. I've been all over the place, and it's been super cool.
I've been everywhere, man.
Dude,
I've
that's
been
what I feel like. That's what I feel like. The Northwest states that I haven't done are Washington, Oregon, and Idaho, and Montana. But everywhere else I've been, except for I haven't been to Florida yet, and I haven't been to the two that are not connected to the continent, which is Alaska and Hawaii.
Okay. No, that's
But I've
cool,
covered
man. It's
covered all the Northeast, and
that's a cool job until you have kids and then you're like, "Damn it, I want to be home." But
yeah, I quit. I don't remember what year it was. I think it was actually right after Trump got elected. I quit right after the girls because it was like I was gone too much, and it just I was like I can't do this. Like I can't be gone all the time and raise these kids. Like I got to be home. And as it turns out, trying to change careers in the middle of your life and starting at the bottom of the pay grade when you have kids is not the best idea.
what did
And
you end up
so,
doing? What like
well,
after you quit?
I worked for Coca-Cola for a little while,
Okay.
slinging Coke, and then
Really?
I worked for
Were you like a
we did
truck driver or what did you do?
I was a truck driver for them. I did their what was called full service, and their full service department is just the machines. So I went around to all these machines that you see all over the place and refill them and stuff, get all the
That's what
money out of them.
screw it, man. There's a job for everything.
Yeah,
Uh
it was kind of it was unique. They got me a CDL. Coca-Cola paid straight out for my CDL.
hell
It's like
yeah.
a $3,000 deal that they just paid for.
Did you sign the apology letter that they had to apologize for being white?
No, that stuff wasn't around when I showed up. They weren't doing that stupid shit. But back then, that was when Trump was getting elected, and there was already at work, there was already a clear divide
Are
of
they
where
union?
people. Mm, no, the one I worked for was not.
Most unions are Democratic. That's the only reason they'll say vote for Democrats, because they align their pockets, and then in turn they make sure that their work is going to the unions.
Except for in 2020 when all the unions in not all of them, but a bunch of them in
The
Michigan
Keystone
and Wisconsin.
Pipeline. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of those
Yeah.
unions said they were voting for Trump.
I mean, if you want to shoot yourself in the foot, what like these Democrats have been doing, that's like, it felt like he got into office and just fucking was like pulling the plugs on everything that makes America run good. It's like, what are you doing, Biden? And it's very clear. I mean, it's going to affect the lives of even the dumb people who don't pay attention and vote.
Yeah.
So they'll be very well attentive. I think 2024. I do believe this election was stolen. Yeah, YouTube might take down my video now, but I do believe it was stolen. I'm not sure how. Well, actually, I do know how. 21 Mules. Like, there's one girl saying she stuffed like 1,000 ballots in this one area and 5,000 in another, and
Yeah.
like she's caught on camera, and I think she's actually facing federal charges now. I wish I
Good.
remembered her name, but what is that? There's
Well,
a
I hope everyone forgets her name. Stupid bitch.
yeah, yeah. And she made a certain amount of money off of it, and I
It
don't know where
was,
she got the money from, but
yeah, dude, watching the election was the weirdest thing to me because Charlotte couldn't sleep that night. I had every intention of going to bed, but Charlie couldn't sleep. So I was up with her trying to get her to put back to sleep. And I was up until, it's a bad night for her. I think I was up till 3 or 4. And so I had my phone and I just, kept sliding it down, hitting the refresh button. And there was a lot of things that stood out to me that I can't unsee. And two of the things that I can't unsee were Michigan and Wisconsin. The entire time I was watching that, I can't remember what network I was using, but they kept calling it leaning Democrat. But I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Why are you calling it leaning Democrat? Because at the time, Trump had like, I think a 10,000 vote lead in one state and a 5,000 vote lead in the other. And I was like, that's not leaning Democrat. That's leaning Republican. What are you talking about? And then at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, when I finally got her down in Pennsylvania, they were just like, we're done counting. And I was like, what? And
yeah.
at the time when they stopped counting, he had a massive lead in PA. And I worked in Pennsylvania, and I don't know if you saw the Instagram post that I had, but I did an Instagram post, and me and my friend Jason were working we did Michigan, Pennsylvania, and one other state. But we have these little clickers, and we counted people's yards. So if you had a Trump sign, you got to click on the Trump clicker, and if you had a Biden sign, you got to click on the Biden clicker. And in every state, it was like a massive blowout. It was like one state was like 1,100 to 200, another one was like 1,000 to like 200. And in Pennsylvania, I had only been in Pennsylvania for like a week. We didn't do that much work there, but the Trump counter was like 1,100, and the Biden counter was like 200 or 300. Like he just destroyed him in Pennsylvania. So when I woke up the next day to see that he had lost Pennsylvania, I was like, something's fucking fishy. Like, there's no way that just in the middle of the night they just found freaking 400,000 votes. And the mathematical odds of however many mail-in ballots just happening to lean 90% Democrat is unfathomable. Like, you would have, at the very least, you would have a 70-30 split. Like, there's no way it would just be 90% Biden, 10% Trump. Like, that's such bullshit.
I just think it was a stolen election, man. But that's the
No, I
scary.
hear you.
That's the
I don't.
scariest part. Is like, my boss.
Yeah,
He's
and then
very.
the pipes broke in Georgia. And did you see what came out of the lawsuits in Maricopa County in Arizona?
No.
They went through, they audited the election down there, and they found out that they had 74,000 ballots had no chain of custody, which means they got 74,000 ballots in, they received them, but there's no record of them going out. And Joe Biden, Oh God, my brain just died.
It happens.
Joe Biden won that state by 10,000 votes.
Arizona, right?
Yeah, Maricopa County.
Yeah, I watched the election on Louder with Crowder because like I think more people watched him than CNN or Fox. Like I don't think combined, but at least more people were viewing his YouTube like broadcast than either. Yeah. So I'm watching it and it's getting to Arizona. You know what I mean? Same thing. Everybody was just confused. They're like, "What's going on here? Like, oh, we're gonna stop and count?" Like, and then
Yeah.
what's weird is like they just all of a sudden like California, Washington, and Oregon, they were blank still, you know, because it moved east to west because of the time.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it just stops, and then pshoo, the whole West Coast was blue. And it sounds weird, but there was a part of me that thought California might turn red because I live in Orange County, which is a very
There was a part of me that thought that too.
and like I was talking on the last podcast with Chase, I went to a Trump, not even an event. He went to Lido Island to talk to this guy who created the VR goggles to get some funding for some stuff, and that guy lived on Lido Island, and 10,000 Californians came to Newport, and everybody in the crowd was like Latinos for Trump, blacks for Trump. There was just all sorts of mixed everything, like all the bullshit
dude,
the media fed us.
If the Democrats lose those two voter blocks, they're fucking toast. They're toast without the minority vote. They will just burn and rot, and it will be hilarious.
I just want somebody in there that's actually going to love this country. If you were a Democrat and you loved this country, going against a Republican who is just a rhino or something, I would probably vote Democrat just because I want anybody who's showing any inkling of like love for this country and tradition and all that stuff, and like wanting to push out all the negativity that like, you know, we need to change everything and schools need to have boys turn to girls at age
communist
3rd grade.
Ideals, man. All that stuff all of that stuff stems from frickin' Marx. All of it. Critical race theory, critical queer theory, drag queens for your kids, sex change stuff. It's all Marx. It's all designed to bring a stable, functioning society to its freaking knees. That's all of that stuff. If you want to learn and understand critical race theory, there is a guy on he does a podcast called New Discourses, and he goes really in depth, and it's kind of hard to follow sometimes. And I can listen to him for like 10 minutes at a time. I'm like, I love you, dude, but I gotta bounce. But his name is Jaymes Lindsay, and I guarantee you probably Lane's heard of him. But Jaymes Lindsay is a fucking monster when it comes to dismantling critical race theory and that type of stuff. All of that stuff. It all stems from Marx, all of it. And I just got done listening to a book called the Gulag Archipelago. It was volume 1. There's 3 volumes, I think, and it's like 72 hours, but it was written by a guy that lived through the Soviet Russian gulags after the communists took over, and it is horrifying, the stuff that happened over there. I know that it's very easy to point at the Nazis and label them as like one of the most evil regimes that's ever existed on the planet. And that's true. They're really terrible people, but they're fucking teddy bears compared to the communists. And that's a fact. 50 million people died in Soviet Russia. 50 million were starved, put in gulags, or put to death. They had an island in the middle of a river, and they would just take people out there and drop them off on the island in the middle of like the winter when you couldn't get out of it, and they would cannibalize each other.
My word.
Bro, the communists were horrible. And it's because for me, it comes down to what I say on Instagram all the time, which probably annoys the shit out of people, but collectivism is the death of the individual. When you have no regard for the individual and your only concern is the group or the tribe, you will do whatever to that individual to meet whatever ends that you think that you're getting to. And it doesn't matter. And that's why, to me, That stuff is so dangerous.
Have you ever seen The Beach? It's a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, and he basically, it's one of his first movies. He's younger, he's like in his 20s, and he goes to Thailand and he goes to Phuket. And while he's in Phuket partying, he meets with this guy who's like, hey, there's an island that everybody, like Europeans, are on it and they're off the grid and they have their own colony there.
Hmm.
And so he's like, well,
Doesn't sound familiar.
he's like, let's go. So they get on a boat and they go to this one island, and the island that they're talking about is a little ways off the way. There's a hefty little swim to get there. So him and this guy and another girl, uh, they swim to this island. They get on this island and they find the little European colony, and they have this. It's almost like Lost Boys and Peter Pan. They have this fort that's super beautiful. They have bananas, coconuts, and they all go fishing. And so they have like this oasis that's not a part of society. They have their own, and once a month, the leader would take the boat into Phuket and get toilet paper, toothpaste, whatever you needed. They'd come around and get a list. Well, there was a shark attack that happened while they were in the water one time. And what had happened to that guy who got bit, they knew, dude, this guy's messed up. And they're like, let's take him to the hospital. And they're like, no, because then he's probably going to tell, where did this happen? What island? He might out our little colony. And there was no way that was going to happen. So they pushed him. He would scream at night because of the infection and whatnot. They then pushed him outside of the camp, and they're like, just let him die. Like, he became an annoyance. Like, it's kind of reminded me of what you just described, like pushing things out that's annoyance and like just letting it rot and die. It's inhumane, but it's gonna
But it
fuck
doesn't
with
matter. It's gonna
yeah.
mess with the tribe, baby. It's gonna mess with
Yes.
the collective. Yep. It doesn't
Yes.
matter. Yeah. Yeah. So there's and it's not the mark stuff that I mentioned, and it's really hard for me to extrapolate it accurately and do a good job of it. Um, but for instance, I started a few months. It's now actually it was last year. I started reading White Fragility, it was written by Robin DiAngelo, and she's one of the one of the thought leaders for critical race theory. And so I just kind of got tired of Shapiro and all these other guys telling me what to think when it came to critical race theory. And I was like, all right, well, I want to see what these people say for themselves. And the very first thing that I noticed without getting just a couple of chapters into it was they have a completely different definition for the word racism. Like, so they define racism as, the short version is prejudice plus power equals racism. So you can only be a racist person if you have a prejudice and you're a person of authority, and you can exercise that authority over other people. So by that definition, a black person that lives in downtown Chicago that hates white people cannot be racist. They can be prejudiced, but because they have no power, they can't be a racist. I'm like, when you take away the traditional definition of what it means to be a racist, which means that you think that your skin color is better completely than a different skin color. You can look up Webster's definition. I don't know it off the top of my head. But when you do that, what you're going to do is you're going to split people into two different groups, which is this group over here that operates off of the traditional definition of what it means to be a racist person. And then you're going to split off into another group of people that believe what you think. So when you do that, there's no coherent conversation that you can have about racism because you're both operating off of completely different definition of the word.
Wow.
If you have a different definition of the word, I may as well be speaking French and you may as well be speaking German. What's the fucking point in communicating? Why
Yeah.
bother at that point?
That's what's going on right now.
That's what critical race theory believes. That is their core belief, is that America is systemically racist, and that racism is prejudice plus power.
Where do you feel like, do you feel this anywhere that you go in the country? Do you feel, the, for instance, I
No.
live in Southern California, which is a very liberal area, very democratic, and I was in the hot tub with my kids and my wife the other day, and this black family came into the hot tub, and we had a great time talking about uh, Marvel movies, and got his name, told him, have a good night, have fun at the beach tomorrow with your family. Hopefully, I'll
Yeah.
see you around, and good night. And he was like, you have a good night too, man. And then I left. Like, I don't feel this racism that they're speaking of. I don't feel it at work. I have black friends. I have Mexican friends. I have a Mexican wife, a Latina wife, and um, I just don't feel the racism at all in my life. And so for them to continually bash this race stuff, I'm just like really confused. I feel like they're just creating it. And
The
here's
purpose
another
is
thing.
to create the purpose is to create division so that they have an excuse for a revolution, so
That's
that they
why
can
I don't
overthrow the government.
that's why I don't pay too much attention to it. Like clearly you've looked into it and you have studied it to the point where you have a broad idea of like their beliefs on this side and that side. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm very lazy with it. I'm very lazy with anything I find divisive. And it's something I've acquired since 2020 and since I will stand for one thing, and that is vaccines and stuff for your body. Like, um, you people, may not agree with me, and I didn't want to ever do this on a podcast, but I will do this. Like Roe v. Wade, I I I paraded when the vaccines were out that hey, dude, it is your body, your choice.
Hmm.
Your company should not allow you, or your company should not force you to take a vaccine. Your government should
No.
not force you to take a vaccine. So I took that stance then, and then this Roe v. Wade came, and I will be honest, I just kind of told my wife, I go, hey, I'm not a girl. I'm not. I don't understand that stuff. I'm gonna literally take myself out of it completely because if I'm gonna advocate for my body, my choice with vaccines, then I feel like you should have your own thing. And if you do decide to have an abortion and kill, what I believe is a child of God, that's up to you and God when you die on what that means. And
Yeah.
I have no authority over your life and your decisions. As for my decisions, I'm gonna have the baby. I told myself even when I was single, I go, if I knock one of these girls up that I'm dating, um, I'm gonna let them know. All right, I'll father that kid. Like
Yeah.
I would let them know I'm here for you financially, and if I knew that, like I knew, hey, I'm gonna have sex with this girl. That's the, and I'm not some noble whoa whatever. I just knew in my head that that's something I won't do. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have the baby. But
Yeah.
anyways, I'm not sure exactly why I went off on that tangent, but
I don't know. I got lost in there too. It's
yeah.
okay.
But to go off on all this politics, dude, I got to see a Black Panther today up close. Um,
Really?
yeah, my sister's visiting right now, and there's a park in Irvine. Uh, I've been to it tons of times, and I always saw the zoo, the sign of the zoo, and you wouldn't think there'd be a zoo in a park, but this park's beautiful. And so we went in today, and there was all these goats, and then there was these rattlesnakes, tons of rattlesnakes, and I was like, holy
Snakes.
crap! I was like, dude, this zoo is actually kind of lit. It was $2 to get in. I was like, the cheapest thing I can do in Southern California. This is great. I'm coming back to the zoo every other weekend, but so it's $2 to get in, and they got wild peacocks running around, Luna's chasing them. It's great, and so then we see three cougars, big cougars, um, bobcats, bears,
Nice.
and then all of
This
a
in a
sudden,
park?
this is in a park, yes,
It's a
and
lit ass park, dude.
dude, yeah, because like I go down to San Diego and it costs you like solid if you're gonna take two kids and you and your wife, so two adults, two kids, it's gonna cost you about $110, $120 to get into the park. And so for me to show up and oh hey, kids are free and adults are $2, and then at that park in San Diego, I saw a lion, but he was just conked out sleeping. That was the only cat I saw. I love cats. And
Big cats are the greatest. They're so
yeah.
cool.
So then we roll up and there's this little corner, like it's like a rock, and then in the center of the rock is a little mirror, or not a mirror, a window. And right there was this big black panther just like yawning, rolling over, and all these little kids are like trying to play with it and it's scratching at the thing. And
Nice.
he's just, right by you. And I've always wanted to see a black panther, dude. Those are the prettiest animals ever. Like
Cool.
it's such a majestic creature. Like, first of all, it can eat you in a second, and then like its jaws, like when it was opening up its mouth, like just to see its teeth, and then it just had a head like a pit bull, dude, just but bigger, just this solid head. And then I don't know if you know this, but black panthers have the stripes just like cheetahs. It's just underneath, it's on their skin. So like when the sun was hitting his skin, you could see the stripes and everything. It was pretty majestic, that animal,
That's
dude.
pretty cool.
It's freaking savage. But yeah.
I had a hawk swoop down while I was at a site the other day and grab up a bunch of mice. It's hilarious.
Oh, that's
He followed me
tight.
around while I was on the mower kicking up mice, and he'd come in and snag a freaking mouse. He caught like 5 or 6 of them.
Dude, speaking of hawks, so Dusty, I have Dusty Sharts, I've had him on the podcast. He dated a girl like probably 7 years ago, and her dad was 1 out of 9 people in the world that hunts with hawks. And
oh, he does falconry?
Yes.
That's so cool. Falconry's awesome.
Explain to the listeners what falconry is.
Well, the basic idea is that I guess in the olden days, in the medieval days, you use these birds to find game for you, and I don't know how you communicate with them. I know you could use them to send messages. You could attach little messages to their legs, and they would fly it to whoever they were. I don't know how, on purpose, but it's fucking crazy. It's cool shit.
Well, he told me that his girlfriend's
was a very
dad.
bad analysis of falconry. It's really piss poor.
That's all right. Well, what Dusty told me is that his girlfriend's dad would take him hunting or whatever, and he'd release the falcon into the air, like they went duck hunting. So he'd release the falcon into the air. That falcon would go to, I don't know, 1,000 feet, however high it went. It was really high, and it would just do a big circle right above him. And then when a flock of ducks would fly by, he would nosedive at Mach 10, like straight down on that crowd of ducks. He would latch onto one whenever he got to it, drive it straight into the ground, and then rip its throat out, and then deliver it to his owner. And then deliver it to its owner.
I want to hunt like that.
Yeah, well, I guess 1 out of 9. I guess all these Scottish or British people, like, they still take on the tradition, but he's like one in America that's.
That's amazing. That's way better than a 10 gauge. 10 gauge, blow your shoulder out.
Yeah, I mean,
I've been goose hunting a few times in my life, and one of them was back in the day with my neighbor. He took me out, and he was like, "Here, use the 10 gauge," and I was like, "Jesus, okay." I was like 16 or 15. I weighed like 130 pounds, and he put me out there with the 10 gauge. I was like, "I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna have a shoulder left at the end of this, but all right, let's go."
10 gauges are nuts. Like my uncle Lance, he did.
Man, I had like a ton of clothes on too.
Yeah, he did the same thing. He put a 10 gauge in my. That was the first thing I shot, and it was just boom, just like just jack your shoulder up every time.
It's so bad.
Yeah,
I got one goose with that, and he was like, "You want to go out again?" And I was like, "No, I don't. I'm good."
He's better off giving you a 20 gauge.
It's freaking destroyed my shoulder. I'm fine, thanks.
Yeah. You were talking to me before we started this podcast, and we were talking about Chase Hardinger. And we were talking about the tornado, and you were like, "Man, that was a good podcast. Like, I love the story, but man, I have a totally different take on that night." And if you want, what do you want to share about that night that you have a different take on?
So that night, I was down at Peasters Pond, a place where, you know where Peasters is. It's a hole back there. You have no service. So back in the day when we all had Motorola Razors, if you went fishing down at Peasters Pond, everybody knew you either plug your phone in or you just shut it Also, people like to get really, really drunk down there and throw $40 freaking mag lights in the pond just to see if they'll stay on while they sink.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh man, that hit me like a bag of rocks right there, dude. That's freaking funny.
Dude, I
Oh
remember
man.
catching up with you. We needed it for something, and I was like, I let you borrow it, and I was like, bro, where's my flashlight? And you're like, oh yeah, I put it in the pond. I want to see if it'd stay on while it sank. It's like, yeah, I just thought that
I'm an idiot. Yeah, I'll tell that story real quick. We were it was you, me, Macklin, I think Lane, there
TJ
was
Gibson,
TJ Gibson,
Kyle,
Josh
and Zach
Amrine,
Belts. I think there was a ton of people there that night.
the foreigners, Thomas and
Yeah,
Tommy, and we never really we I didn't really drink much in high school, but the times I did drink, it was normally with like you guys, like at Peasters Pond,
yeah.
and I got tipsy, and I don't know who I went out with on that boat, but we did. We
I
had
don't
your,
remember.
I think it was Jeremiah, or I don't know though. I don't know. I can't remember, but we were out there, maybe Joe Rush, and
That sounds like something Joe would do.
well, we were out in the middle of Peaster's Pond, and I was like, I wonder if like if I drop this big badass light down, just let it sink down, if when it hits the bottom, we'll see it shining up. And I let it go, and then it just like went like maybe 3 feet, and then I couldn't see it anymore, and it was gone. I did feel bad. I was like, right after I did it, I was like, why did you just do that to James's freaking flashlight? Like, there's no way I'm diving down there and getting it.
That's so funny. I had just bought it like that week. I was so excited about
I'm
going down to
so
Peasters.
sorry.
I was so excited about going down to Peasters and using my awesome new flashlight.
I owe you a mag light, dude. When's your
No, it's
birthday?
okay. The story is way better. It's so funny.
Oh,
But
dude.
dude, you're the most. I remember being around you, and I was like, he's really drunk. Like you function really well as a drunk person because I'd been around drunk people a little bit. And I was like, he functions really well for a drunk. This is disturbing.
It's, it takes a lot to take me down. I'm like I don't know. Like, I only drink
I
beer.
am.
I don't drink whiskey because if I'm on whiskey or tequila or vodka, I'm not good. Like you said, like you're like, oh man, Drew, you're really good drunk. If I'm drinking beer, man, I can drink beer all night and I'll be good. I'll be good. I'll be coherent, talking, all that stuff. But like whiskey, oh man, I tried to fight my brother the last time I drank whiskey, which was like
Oh,
3 or 4 years ago. But I wasn't a mean fighter. I was training jujitsu, and I was like, I guess I don't remember, but I woke up with a black eye and a big bruise, and I woke up like this the next day, like, oh, I'm a little sore. And then this was like 5, 6 years ago, not 4. But anyways, so I walk into the living room, and I don't know if it was Lane that was there or this guy CJ, and I was like, man, why is everybody in such a crappy attitude this morning? Like, what the fuck, And somebody's like, don't wake up your brother, like stay clear of your brother. I'm like, why? And he's like, he choked you out last night. He choked you unconscious. And I was like, what? And I guess we watched a UFC fight, and then afterwards I was training jujitsu, so I was like, come on, bro, brother fighting bullshit. And I was like, come on, bro, let's do this. And my brother was not having it. And I guess I still tried, and I guess he was the victor because I was choked unconscious. But yeah,
oh, that's funny.
that's the
That's
last
really
time I've
hard for
drank
me to
hard
imagine
alcohol.
Jeremy doing that.
No,
I
Jeremy's a
haven't, gosh,
savage.
I haven't seen him in years, man.
Yeah, he was a savage athlete. Like people forget, he was tiny, but man, he was a savage. He's
I was
very
on the 4x8
determined.
team with him. He sent me
Oh
that.
yeah.
He sent me a YouTube video of that a few weeks ago, and I was like, what that felt like to feel that way.
He
And
sent
now I
you
run on my
the
treadmill, and I want to die.
he sent you the 4x8 relay that you
Yeah,
guys once stayed at.
yeah, yeah.
That's a hell of a run, man. 800 meters. Like that I couldn't do
It's
it.
basically mid-high, like a lowered down version of a sprint.
Yeah, it's like
Because
taking it. Yeah.
you can't full sprint the whole thing. Because I mean, unless you're just a freak.
If you view it as gears, like you're in sixth gear as a full sprint, right? Like, or
For me, it was like 4.5.
okay, well, say a full sprint is a 4.5. Let's just say that in gears. you're running at a 4 1/4 4 the whole 800. Like,
basically.
oh my gosh.
I don't
Before
know how I did it.
well, Matthew wasn't it you, Matthew, Michael, and Jeremy?
Yeah, and then Matthew and then moved to Idaho. And I think Matthew. So my best split ever was a 2:05. And I think I heard Vandenhoek tell me that when the Choates moved to Idaho, Matthew ran like a 2 minute flat or like a sub 2, which is just psychotic.
Really?
It's 2 back-to-back 60-second 400-meter dashes.
Okay, that's psychotic. Yeah, that's stupid.
Like I remember doing practice that week for state, and I remember Vandenhoek was like, the last practice was the easiest one. He just wanted us fresh. And he was like, all right, like, you guys, I need you to go out and run 2 60-second 400s. You can take as much time as you need between each of them. It's fine. And man, I remember doing that. Both times I knocked 60 seconds on my 400 perfectly. Like, I knew the pace. I like it was basically a fiber of my being at that point. And I just remember I look back now and I'm like, God damn it, if I could have put two of those together in a row, could have ran a 2 minute 800, but I didn't. I always blew myself out on the first lap. I'd always come around at like a 58 or a 57 and blow myself out for the first 400 and then have to back off for 200 and try and kick it back on for the last two. It was a very stupid way to run.
Well, how was it to win state, man? Like, a lot of people never
Dude,
win state in anything.
it was the coolest thing ever. It was like one of the coolest things ever.
Yeah.
Like, there's like getting married, kids and all that stuff, but like way underneath all of that stuff is winning state. That is one of my most cherished memories because I tried to get out of it. I didn't want to do it. I was wanting to go work on my custom harvesting crew, and I was like, I want to go to work. I want to go make money. And then I'm so glad I did that because I remember I will never forget walking out to go line up for the race, and I look up at the Wichita State Stadium, and it was just filled with people. Like, literally, that's what it took for me to get it. And I look up there and I saw those people, and I was like, oh my god, this is real.
Heck yeah.
So yeah, it was super cool to stand up on top of the podium and be like, nobody could beat us that day. Like, that was an awesome feeling. And I think you probably remember watching the race and just him sending it to me. We destroyed everybody that year. It was awesome.
You guys were savages. I would always go to the track meet to chase girls, and like, I never was a track guy. I never was.
That's fine. It's not for everybody. I had a lot
It,
of anger I was trying to get out.
I they made me go out though. My dad made me do it. He wanted me to be a pole vaulter like him. My dad was a badass pole vaulter, so he's like, you're gonna pole vault. And then Randy Vandenhoek was like, you're a good sprinter, so you're gonna do the 100 and the 200. And so I ran the 200 and the 100, and I pole vaulted and high jumped.
Yeah.
And one race, Randy's like, hey, this person dropped out of the 400. Can you run it for us?
Oh, that happened to me too.
And
That's funny.
well, I'm not a 400 runner, like, at all. The 400 and the 200 are two totally different races for me.
Jello legs, baby.
Oh yeah. So I even in practice, if it was a 400, I wasn't gonna run it. I was lazy. When it came to track, I was lazy. I just tried to just get my 400 done, whatever.
Dude, it takes a really special person to be motivated to do that.
Yes, it does, and I'm not that guy. But
No,
so
Kip was though. The dude was a freak.
Kip was a G, but so we'll talk about Kip, but I ran this 400 and I treated it like a 200. So I'm blowing everybody away on that first 200. And then on that third 100 or whatever, the 3/4 the way, whatever, halfway into it, I'm slowing down. My gas tank, my mind, all the stuff that functions on a 400 is falling apart. I walked the last 50 yards. Because I was I felt like if I ran anymore, my heart was gonna explode. Because I was just like the lung and the breathing and everything was just like, I can't add to this. I'm gonna die. So I ended up just walking the last, and everybody's right by me and beat me, and I just was like, I'll never run a 400 again. But
that's
Kip,
awesome.
A funny story about Kip. So we're playing Greensburg, Kansas, and we don't like Greensburg at the time. and we're
What
playing
year?
football, 2006.
Okay, my senior year, or
Yep,
had we left?
you were there, and
Okay.
so they kick off to us. I think it's opening kickoff, and Kip runs it back, and
I know where you're going with this.
there was a flag on the play, and it was Nathan McFarland.
With the fucking block in the back.
Yes, and I was like, Nathan, you freaking idiot. We had, momentum. We were all screaming, hell yeah, we're gonna whip your ass, all this, and then so flag, they run it back, and they kick off again to us. Kip grabs the ball, and he runs it into the touchdown again.
Yep. Dude,
And
you know
boom.
what's funny about
What a savage, Kip Schuler, man.
That block in the back, there was I was on the sidelines. I was standing right beside Coach B, and I think to my right was, I want to say, Cody Stevens, and then a couple other guys. I think they were younger kids. And the only reason that block in the back got called, and I'm convinced of that to this day, was because when Nathan blocked the dude in the back, there were like three people behind me that were like, "Oh, Nate, why'd you do that?" And the ref, legitimately, he did not throw the flag until he heard those guys say that. And Coach Blattner turned around, he goes, "Will you guys shut up?"
Oh man.
But I'm convinced that the only reason that flag flew was because the guys on our sidelines were like, "Oh, Nathan, you're so stupid."
Of course,
Dude.
that had to have been it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I also remember about that game on a kickoff return. Lane Kendall blew out. I think it was Cody Schaaf was on their team. He was a senior, just like me. He's about my size. And I remember on a kickoff return, Lane Kendall just demolished Cody Schaaf. And Nathan went to go help him up, and he laughed at him. He goes, "Bro, you just got killed by a freshman."
Ah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, we had Greensburg's number, dude, all throughout high school.
Absolutely.
Greensburg, I don't even know if they beat us in anything, but we had Fowler's number too up until my senior year. They came out clapping, payback, payback, and I had some scrubs to work with my senior year. There was like four of us leading horse. Well, they called us the leading horsemen, anyways. But like it was me, Joe, Lane, Joshua Kidd, Jeremiah. Dude, shouldn't forget Jeremiah. Jeremiah was a savage too. But we just had a tough time because we didn't have a full team like that 2016.
Yeah.
What a year that was, 2006, when we played football. That was fun.
I'll take that 06 team over all of the other teams that I was on. 1,000%.
Yeah, we were all
we were scrappy. Yeah. I know that the Michael Choate and those guys, those teams were all super, super talented and really good, but we were fucking scrappy.
We were scrappy.
Dog.
You need
scrappy
to be
scrappy as hell. Yeah, we were really scrappy.
I remember one time
it kept us in a lot of games. It bit us in the ass against, what was it, Buckland and who was the first game?
Yeah,
Spearville. It bit us in the ass because I think as seniors, our group, we kind of had a tendency to get ahead of ourselves a little bit, and we kind of needed that slap in the face to get us refocused.
Oh yeah.
You know, but
yeah,
I'll take that team over all of the other teams I played on.
Oh yeah. Dustin Brown, one time, I believe I was a sophomore, and Dustin Brown, we just got our ass killed by Hanston and 45. And later on, we were eating lunch, all of us at the lunch table during high school or whatever. And Dustin Brown was going off like, we got to see Hanston again. We got to see him again. And I was like, you'll see him, all right. You'll see him, get 45 and get back on the bus. Like that group of guys, Jeremy and Michael and Dustin and Logan, not to talk shit on them, but they just, even Blattner, like Hanston just had their number.
I don't know what it was.
It was weird. Yeah. It was weird to see them fall apart from the first snap, but that's all I'll say about that. But yeah, it was just
it was a weird thing. That was another thing I loved about that 06 team, man. Going up to Hanston, I had a broken wrist. I didn't play. God, that was great.
Yeah, we killed him.
Oh,
we killed him. It was great.
60 to 28, I think, was the final score. And I don't know if you were there the next day. I can't remember the stud player for Hanston. I don't remember what his name was, but the next day there was the SPIAA volleyball tournament in Dodge, and we all went. And we were on really good relations with the Coldwater guys. I think Bryce Reimer, Jared Flankman, and oh man, I can't remember their names anymore. Jeez, I'm old.
I know
But
those are
we were
some
on.
names I haven't heard in a while, dude.
I
I was
know,
like,
but
oh wow.
we were on really good relations with those guys. We all got along, and we were standing at the concession stands, and we were sitting there talking with the Coldwater guys, and that stud player for whatever he was supposed to be the end all be all for Hanston. And Jared Flankman, who was like this sawed off little 5'6" dude, probably weighed like 130 pounds. He looked at the guy from Hanston after we beat him the night before, and he goes, "Heard you guys got your ass kicked last night."
Hell yeah.
And I was like, bro, he's like twice your size. What are you doing?
Yeah. Those Hanston guys, they went on a tear for forever. But to end talking about our glory days in football.
Yeah, the Greensburg story.
Yeah.
Back to that. So yeah, I was down at Peasters, and it was racing all kinds of hell down there. Lightning, windy, just normal storm stuff, and I didn't think anything of it because it was just run of the mill storm for me, because you know how it is when you're out there. It storms, it's whatever, it gets bad. So we loaded everything up, and we left because the weather was bad, and I'm driving down the Belvedere Blacktop, and I think when I got to the S curve, I turned my phone back on because I'd shut it off. Like I said, it's if you're down there, there's no service, so just shut the phone off. So I turned the phone back on at the S curve, and my phone got slammed with like 8 voicemails. I was like, "What in the actual?" And I listened to all of them, and literally every single one of them is my mom. And she was like, "Where are you? You had better not be in Haviland or Greensburg. They're getting their ass kicked. You need to go to Pratt. Like, where are you?" Like, literally, it was all of those. Like, I'm just trying to figure out where you're at. I'm just checking on you. Where are you? Because I was in college at that point. Like, me being under, mom and dad's like needing to know where I was. That stuff was long past, and I was like, dude, miss me with the drama, mom. Get out of here. Just being
Yeah.
a
Teenage boy.
young guy. Yeah, I was like, get out of here, dude. And so I'm driving, and I get somewhere between Collison and Pratt, I think, and Andrew Walker calls me because we hung out a lot after school, after high school, because he was going to college as well. And he was like, "Did you hear about Greensburg?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Did you hear about Greensburg?" I'm like, "No. What do you mean? What did I hear about Greensburg? It's Greensburg. Nothing happens." And he was like, "Bro, got blown away by a tornado." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You need to come over to the house." So he was going to college, and he lived with some old lady at the time. I can't remember her name. But he was renting the basement basically. And we went down there, and
Is
he
this
was
in
like, "Dude,
Pratt?
it's yeah." It was over in Pratt. He was like, "Dude, it's really bad." So by the time I got there, it was Greensburg was they were calling for 45% of it was gone. I was like, "Wow, that's wild." Well, if you remember our friend TJ Gibson, his mom was an EMT, and she got sent over there to go do EMT stuff. And so TJ would call us. He would call us like and be like, "It's not 45% anymore. They're saying 60%." And then like 10 minutes later, we would get it on the news. The news would be like, "Oh, they're saying like 60%." And he did that all the way up until it was like 95%. He would call us 10 minutes before the news thing, and tell us like, "No, it's like 95% gone." And so it was like at that point, it was like, wow, like this shit got real, like real quick. And so the next day we went over to have one because everybody kind of bunked up at the gym or whatever. I ran into Chase. I remember seeing Chase there. Um, uh, but Macklin at the time had been dating that girl Rachel something, I think, and um, one of her friends was Kelly McKinney, and she was a girl at the time I think I was kind of interested in, or maybe had dated. I don't the timeline on that stuff all is really blurry to me. But me and Macklin loaded up Kelly in his Jeep, and we went over to Greensburg because at that point they weren't letting anybody in. But she lived on the far south side of town, so we're like, we're gonna avoid all this stuff. It's not gonna be a big deal, whatever. And I remember very vividly, spending the day walking around, and it looked to me like and everybody can look up the pictures online, but it looked to me like what I would see in like a World War II documentary. Like it looked like London or Berlin, like after they just got the shit bombed out of them. Like everything was destroyed. I remember Kelly McKinney being so ecstatic that we went to her house and it was destroyed. But she was so excited just to find pictures, like old family photographs. And I think me and Macklin helped her rummage around through stuff for a little bit. But I'll never forget that. She was just to have pictures of her family. She was psyched to find that stuff. Like to the point that I think she was crying. I think she was crying, I'm not sure, but that really stuck with me. And then another thing that really stuck with me was the fact that I wandered around over there for like 3 hours, and it was unfathomable at that point in time to ever be in a small town that you know, and to look around and not know where the fuck you are.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember where I was. I was somewhere, I think, over by the big well, and I looked around and I was like, I'm fucking lost in Greensburg, Kansas. I have no idea where I'm at because I don't recognize anything.
Yeah, it was unrecognizable.
Unrecognizable. Just looked like a bomb went off. But that will stick with me for freaking ever.
Yeah,
I've only seen the green sky that Chase talked about. I've only ever seen that one other time, and that was in 1996 up at our house in the country. We got a like softball sized hail, and I remember seeing the green sky. And Mom was running the house. She's like, "Get in the basement! Get in the basement!"
Yeah, tornadoes. After talking with Chase about that, and then just reliving that, night and reliving the destruction of what that tornado caused. I plan on moving my wife and kids back to Kansas, and so like that was not a good sell for my wife. I was like, I'm like,
That did
yeah,
not go well.
but the truth of the matter is Justin Kindle, I saw his house. He built a house in Haviland, and he was showing me it about a year ago, and it was in its skeleton phase, so it was just the beams up. And he's like, yeah, check out the basement. And he's like, this is my storm shelter. And he did what I'm planning on doing. And it's just a concrete, it's like a closet, and it's concrete roof, concrete sides, concrete everything, steel door, a vent to the outside, and then basically just a nice little couch area for you to sit.
Nice.
And in all reality, that's all you need. I mean, have insurance on your house, all the stuff that you have in it, and whenever you hear a siren, just jet off, sit down in your little concrete little thing, and have a way of getting out of that, and you will not have to worry about anything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a wild deal, dude. That was crazy.
Stop. My cat is freaking going nuts over here. My bad. But
that cat,
it was
a dumb cat.
Yeah, stupid little Bubba. But yeah, no, that night was crazy. I haven't talked with you. I asked you what you wanted to talk about, and so you have 3 kids, right?
We've got 4.
4? Okay.
Yeah, we had twins, Hamilton and then Phoenix.
Those are cool names. So, I like those names.
The girls are 5, Adelaide and Charlotte. I mean, they're typical 5-year-olds. Hamilton is, dude, I'm telling you, if you have a boy, the difference between boys and girls is insane.
I bet.
My son is a psychopath. He is absolutely insane. He's a nut. And it's just, I love it, but other times I'm like, stop it. Like he wants to play with Phoenix, and he does a really good job of playing with Phoenix because he gets down on her level and he gets on his hands and knees and crawls around, and he does a really good job. But there are times where he just is, you know how kids are. It's like being around someone with really severe Asperger's. Like, we don't know personal space. We don't know inside voice. We're very loud and we're in your face. And he's like that with her. And I'm like, bro, can you tone it back a little bit? Can you dial it down just a touch? Like throwing stuff and jumping around. And I'm like, you're going to jump on her. Stop it.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I can't imagine actually having an infant and then having your other little kid just being a psychopath around him.
it's
It's
so stressful.
it's
And
got to
my
be.
wife is like, "You calm down." And I'm like, "No, he's gonna hurt her.
Yeah.
I won't calm down."
And with your
She
girls,
and
those are your princesses. Those are your I have a little girl, and man, my tough guy got thrown out the window with her. It's tough when it needs to be. It's like when we're out in public, I'm like,
yeah.
if I see a little kid trying to punk her or anything, I'm like, I'm about to grab you and throw you over this fence, little guy, if you keep that up. Like,
How old is your daughter?
she's a year and a half,
Year and a half.
but she's very active, very active. My
Yeah.
mother-in-law calls her a goat in Spanish because she climbs on everything. But
Oh, Hamilton does the same thing.
yep,
He's
she's a
he
little bit
climbs up on. Yeah. Go
she's a
ahead.
little
Sorry.
bit of a psycho too, man. She's got a lot. She's my wife says she's nothing like her first girl because I have a stepdaughter that's 11, and putting my daughter down every night, man, it's tough. It's a tough go. She doesn't like to
Yeah.
sleep. Yeah, but so you told me I don't know anything about your wife or the situation that she's in. I heard, and you go ahead and you can elaborate better on what her condition is, but you told me she has cancer right now, or
Okay. So she's good now. We're
okay,
past
okay,
all the stuff.
good.
But last year, in March, I think it was. Yeah, it was March. So within a 2 week, actually, I think it was a 16-day span. Yeah, I need some more water or something. Do you mind if I grab something to drink? Can you pause the recording?
You can grab something to drink. I can
All right,
talk to
I'll be
my
right back.
fans.
All right, I'll be right back.
No worries. Uh, for my people listening, Jim Brewer, he's a podcaster that I really enjoy, and he actually his wife has cancer too, and they said that you know she only had like a year to live, and this was 6 years ago, and she's doing really good. But Jim Brewer had a podcast where he just talks alone about the struggle of what it was like for him to you know deal with that, the thought of his wife possibly passing from cancer. And it's a really powerful podcast episode. If you look up Jim Brewer, the Bruniverse, he talks about it, and it's called Heavy, but it's a good one to listen to. But go for it,
Yeah,
James.
I'll have to give that a listen. Yeah, so March, within a 16-day span, we found out that we were pregnant with what is our fourth. So it was like, yay. But she was still nursing Hamilton at the time, and she had found a lump on her breast. But she thought, and everybody, not everybody, but the few people that she talked to about it was like, it's probably just a blocked duct from nursing. You're still nursing. Like, it's probably just a blocked duct. It's probably just an infection. It's probably just this. It's probably just that. So she went to the doctor, um, and we found out that it was what was called invasive ductal carcinoma, and her cancer is called HER2 positive cancer. Um, I know that you get a whole education that you don't want when you get cancer. Um, HER2 positive is a really aggressive type of cancer. So the doctors wanted to act really, really quickly because the tumor was already very large and it had not got to the lymph nodes yet. And something that you learn when you deal with this stuff is the lymph nodes are basically the highway to the rest of your body system. So her oncologist told her that breast cancer travels, it takes a very specific pattern and always does the same thing. It starts in the breast, it goes to the lymph nodes. I'm probably going to mix this up, but then it goes to the kidneys, the livers, lungs, and the brain. And he said that without exception, there's no exception. It's always that order. And so they were really glad that we caught it. But he was like, because she was pregnant with Phoenix, our options were terminate the pregnancy, get a lumpectomy, and then go through the normal procedures for that type of cancer, which would have been what was it, Herceptin that she was on, I think. Herceptin and something else, and you do the treatments in a specific order. Well, because we weren't willing to terminate the pregnancy, we had to do everything the exact opposite of what was normal. So she had to go in while she was pregnant. I mean, literally, we just found out that she was pregnant. And then the doctor's like, you have to get a double mastectomy. So found out we're pregnant, found out she has cancer, found out we have to go get a double mastectomy and then do the double mastectomy. And that happened within 16 days. So it was like bang, 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 bang. And then because of the pregnancy, she was able to start chemo, but there's only so many types of chemos that you can risk doing while you're pregnant. And this one was called, they call it the Red Devil. It's called adriamycin. And it was once a month. She would go in for a treatment once a month for 4 months and 3 weeks apart. And those treatments were pretty tiring for her. She would go in for treatment and then for like a week and a half, I even want to say 2 weeks, just was totally just dead on her feet, exhausted. Couldn't do much, slept most of the time because I don't know if you know how chemo works, but it essentially it firebombs your system in an attempt to target very specific cancer cells, but it wipes out everything else in the process too. So chemo is really gnarly. And when you go into it, we were trying to find out because we'd heard all kinds of side effects. Some people it makes you puke, some people it gives you really bad diarrhea, some people it just makes you really tired, some people are affected. Like that's another thing that's scary about cancer is like there's so many unknowns when you step into it. Like we had no idea what to expect with the treatments because they're so gnarly, but there's no consensus. Like there's no consensus of how the treatments are going to go because it affects each individual so differently. And so also as a result, because of all of that, I had been planning to go out on the road again. And it was March. I was getting ready to get geared up. I was buying trucks. I was buying tires for my truck. I was working on my equipment, getting it ready to go, doing this, doing that. And then we found out it was cancer and my world changed, And I called my boss and I was like, I can't go. Like, I can't go this year. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And I can't leave. Like, I can't let her do chemo and pregnant by herself.
No.
And the great thing about my job is also sometimes its biggest downfall, but I work with family. I've worked with this company for 10 years. My uncle owns the company. The guy that is the CEO is married to my cousin. And so they were totally understanding. And Joe was like, if you're going to stay home, he was like, we can find something for you. He's like, we can find some office work for you. He's like, we can't pay you as a full employee, but we can find something so you can just at least keep the boat floating. And so he gave me some office work. We started a GoFundMe, and the purpose of the GoFundMe was to pay for medical bills and to keep my business afloat, because the full intention was for me to go out on the road again when all of this was over. And we raised somewhere in the neighborhood of 20,000 for the GoFundMe. We had one that my cousin Jonathan started up, and another one that her friend Jess started up. And so between those two and other random donations, I was able to stay home and help my wife around the house and not have to leave her to deal with 3 kids and going through chemo.
Wow.
So that was one of the biggest things for me, was the fact that, dude, there's so many, I don't even know these people that donated money to us. Like, I don't know them. I know a few of them. I'm close with a few of them, but I don't know anybody. Like, my dad had checks coming in from people in Haviland that I don't know. I don't even. I may have met them in the past. I have no idea though. So that was really cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, we were able to float from March to when we had to move in November without having to pick up a bunch of extra work. Like I legit was at home with kids because between what Forerunner gave me with the office work and the money that we raised, I didn't have to leave.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and so part of that was Forerunner was going to lease the company. That's the company I work for. Part of that was they were going to lease my truck out, lease my trailer and my mower, and so my mower and my truck lease were also going to generate me income as well by
Smart.
just having somebody else use them. Which at that point, you're desperate, and it's like I don't care if I can use it.
Yeah.
It's a truck, it's a mower. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then October rolled around and it was time to move, and I had already been offered before all of this happened. In case anybody's concerned about nepotism, before all of that happened, I had been offered a new position at Forerunner called crew manager, and it was basically 4 of us guys were going to be in charge of helping assist some of the older crews, but mostly the newer crews in the field. Just fielding questions, fielding text messages, stuff like that. Like, so I had already been offered that position. Well, by the time all this stuff got done and October rolled around, Joe called and we talked, and just like, I don't know if I can go back in the field, dude. Like I think I might have to stay here and figure something out. We were living in Derby, Kansas, and I was like, I just don't think I can go back out in the field, man. Because it was going to be, at that point, it was going to be another several months of treatments. And he was like, well, what about being full time in the office? And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. He's like, I don't care. I was like, if you don't care and you're willing to teach me, I was like, if you're willing to teach me, I'm 100% willing to learn. He was like, yeah. He's like, your salary, he's like, find a place to rent, let me know, and we'll adjust your salary accordingly, and we'll get your ass up here. And we'll get you an office. And I was like, fucking sweet, man.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I'm in the office now, and we moved up here in October, right after we had Phoenix. That went really well. What I remember.
Yeah.
Everything's such a blur, everything's a blur when stuff like this happens. I tried to journal about it, and I wasn't very disciplined with it. I should probably get back to it, but so she had Phoenix, and in the meantime, between all the other treatments, she lost her hair, was bald. When we came up here, had Phoenix in Wichita, and we all moved. And then she had, I wish I could remember the name of the freaking medication, Herceptin or something, Herceptin and something else, son of a bitch. But she had, starting in November, going all the way to January, she had 12 more rounds of chemotherapy once a week on Friday. So every week she had to go in and get blasted with chemotherapy. It super messed up her stomach. It made her exhausted. It made her weak. She was tired. It's just, man, it is the shittiest thing to watch the person that you love have to go through the shit. Because the most that I can do is like help out with the kids, maybe take care of dinner, rub her feet. But outside of that, there's nothing that I can do to help her misery. There's nothing that I can do to help the fact that she had to freaking basically have an amputation and have her breast chopped off. There's nothing that you can do to help other than to be as encouraging as you possibly can while you watch the person that you love go through the shit. It sucked. I don't wish it on anybody.
That's terrible. No,
terrible.
FAWK
Cancer.
FAWK Cancer is right. I commend you, man, and I commend her for, going through it. And then on top of it, I know you stepped up. I know you did. You're just that guy.
Everybody says that about me, but I feel like such a passenger. Everyone's like, you did such a great job. And I'm like, I was just there.
Well, you just needed to be there. Half of the battle is just being there.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but you said, you rubbed her feet, you were trying to be positive, and you just gave her that shoulder, you know what I mean? And good for you, and good for her for beating it. And so is that where
Yeah.
we're at now? Are we at a full recovery?
So,
Just checkups?
so, that's another thing you find out when you go through cancer. She's still on Herceptin, but it's not full on chemotherapy. She goes in once every 30 days, I think, once a month for like a 30-minute infusion. It doesn't make her sick, doesn't upset her stomach, it doesn't make her tired. She just goes in and takes the medication and she's good to go. I think she thinks it messes with her heart a little bit. And that's another thing. It was like one of the side effects of the chemotherapy was like it super screwed up her heart for a while. Like she had to be put on blood thinners because the adriamycin is so hard on your heart. So it was like in the middle of that, she had to start stabbing herself and giving herself blood thinners that way, like
Diabetic?
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
that was another thing that came up with all of that stuff. Forgot about that.
Well, is she so you said she goes in, is it every Friday still?
No, it's once a month. I don't know what day it is. I think it's towards the end of the month, and she does a 30-minute infusion. That will be done in October or November, I believe, and then she'll be completely done. Her hair's back. She's gone through reconstructive surgery. Yeah.
Well, good. I mean,
But she's not so according that's where my brain went. Sorry. So according to like the medical community and doctors and stuff like that, you're not in full remission or recovery until you are cancer free for like 3 to 5 years or something like that.
yeah, no, I have two buddies that had testicular cancer, and yeah,
No shit.
yeah, the two of my closest friends, to be honest, and um, they have to do the same thing. They go in and get checkups, and I think one of them is on his probably 5th year or 6th year soon, and hopefully, and by the grace of God, just like for your wife as well, they'll be clear and beat it and fuck
It's
cancer.
gnarly, dude. Yeah, seriously, it's fucking terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane the scare that people have for COVID-19, and like when cancer's still a real thing. Like our diet is big, and I'm such a piece of crap when it comes to how I eat. And
oh, bro, I eat like a 12-year-old.
Like, I Joe Rogan has, we can pull up pictures of the beach from 1970, and it will be everybody's thin.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Everybody's thin.
It's crazy.
And it's like now even I'm a little overweight, and everybody's a little overweight, and some are really overweight. And it's just crazy. It's like how do we? I know we got to adjust our diet, but I guess we just got to be real disciplined when we see Cheetos or something, and we're like, oh, I want some fire Cheetos. Like we got to say, no, don't eat that shit.
Dude, mine is sugar. I love sugar. I love sweets. It's a problem. It is a real problem.
Really?
I'm terrible. Yeah. Like I said, I eat like a 12-year-old man.
I get that too every now and then. I crave. What's up?
Do you try and work out or do anything like that?
Yes, once I had the kid, it was kind of hard, yeah, I'm lazy. I would say I'm not lazy because I do a physical job for 8 hours a day, but there's times where Lane Kendall got me into working out again when he lived with me in 2016, and he's like, "You don't go to the gym?" I was like, "No," and I was thin, like I just had a great metabolism, and he's like, "You have to go to the gym," and I was like, all right. And so I started going to the gym. And then ever since then, so 2016 to 2021, I was hitting the gym pretty regularly. But 2022, I've been very bad. But it's just one of those things you just got to just tell yourself you're going to do it. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
But I do saunas. I'm a
Oh,
religious
fuck that.
I'm a
Oh my God.
religious sauna user, dude.
Oh Jesus. No.
Um,
No.
well,
They're
I'm
the
like
worst.
I'm
I hate.
addicted to it. I'm like
You're
addicted.
addicted.
I'm
Oh, bro,
addicted to
I'm the
saunas.
exact opposite with saunas. I see a sauna and I want someone to stab me in the knee with an ice pick rather than sit in that thing. I hate it.
You will
Saunas are
feel
the worst. I cannot stand it, bro. There's nothing worse than just sitting there doing nothing and sweating.
boiling.
If I am
Yeah.
going to be sweating, I had better be working my ass off.
I
Don't ever proposition me
I
to
like to
sit in a sauna with you
I
because
like to
I will
drink
punch you in the
beer.
face.
I like to drink beer, and so
It's the worst. You just sit there and you're just hot. What is the
really
point?
hot.
It's so horrible.
I'm such a psycho that I bought because I used to live at a place where there was actually a built-in sauna, and it was perfect. I loved it. It was
So
perfect. It was
awful.
all I had to do was open the door, get in. But I bought one of those sauna bags, and it's got these two sides, and you're supposed to sit in it and have your head exposed, so your body's just sweating, and then you clean it up, and then take a shower, and then fold it back up, put it back in your closet, whatever. But what I do is I sit inside of it, and I don't know if this is healthy, to be honest. I gotta actually look into this. So I turn it on full blast. I put a towel over where your head pokes out, and I let it sit there for 20 minutes. So it's really freaking hot. And then I unzip it and I crawl in and I zip it back up to where I am fully in this bag. And then I sit there for 20 to 25 minutes and I listen to a podcast, watch YouTube. But by the end, I come out and I'm red as a tomato, and I take a cold shower right afterwards. And the cold shower doesn't do anything. Like I'll have it on full cold and I'll sit in the shower for 10 minutes and I still get out, dry off, and I'm still sweating because my internal body's so hot. I don't know. I'm addicted to it though. I really do enjoy it. I really do. It just makes me feel like, but working out is a better feeling than just sitting in a sauna. Like I
There
still feel
is
like a piece of
nothing
crap.
more unappealing to me than being told I should sit in a sauna.
Hey, to each his own, man.
Seriously, yeah.
When I move back to Kansas, I'm actually gonna move into the house I grew up in, and I plan on building out a deck that goes off the back outside and wraps around. And the first thing I'm gonna put is a sauna.
You want to move back to Haviland?
I'm going to, yeah,
Oh God.
yeah. A lot of
I
people are
don't
like,
blame
"Oh
you,
my
man.
God,"
I'm
but
desperate. I desperately want to get out of the city. I this is the problem that I just am continually running into at my age is I want to live in the country. I want to live and have one, but the problem for me is my job and my occupation are so specialized and so niche to what we do that it's going to be really, really difficult for me to transition to anything else without it immediately dropping me to the bottom of the pay grade. And the bottom of the pay grade is no place to be when you got 4 kids, you know? So I want to, but I don't know how I'm going to make it work. I hope that we can make it work somehow, but I would love to live in Haviland. And dude, it's so funny. The one that you did with Josh Lofgren. Josh Lofgren actually said one of the most impactful things to me that I've ever heard in my life. And it was I had graduated, I'd been gone for a year or two. I think I'd moved to Tennessee and was living out there. I think I was back for like a basketball game or something. And I ran into Josh and we were just out front in the high school, just bullshitting, talking whatever. And he was like, we were talking about living in Haviland. I was like, man, I don't think I could ever live here again. I was just so full of shit in my 20s. It was so stupid. I really was.
you and your
I
green
just,
Dodge.
oh, dude, the green Dodge. Macklin says he still sees that thing driving around once in a while.
I wonder
Dude,
who's driving that.
well, I sold it to TJ, and then I don't think he has it anymore.
All right.
But
What did
yeah, so
Josh?
anyway,
Yeah, what did Josh
yeah,
say?
I'm bullshitting with him, and I was like, it's just I don't think I could live here anymore. He was like, he's like, a lot of people give me a lot of shit for it, staying around. He's like, one bunch of my friends left and went to college and all this other stuff, and he's like, they show up back here, and he's like, they give me shit for working for Dave, and he's like, it's just so stupid. I was like, why is it? I was like, why is it stupid? He's like, it's stupid because it's what I want to do. he was like, "This is where I want to be. Like, I want to be here." He was like, "I don't want to do all that other stuff." He was like, "So what I'm doing isn't stupid." He was like, "I actually really like it here." And I was like, that was the first time that it had occurred to me that, like, yeah, leaving Havlet is for a lot of people. Leaving small towns is sure it's for a lot of people. But there's also a group of people that they want to stay. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
And it struck me and it stuck with me that he was like, he didn't say it outright, but he was basically like, yeah, fuck those people. I don't care. I like it here. You know, because I remember leaving and I was like, yeah, it's small town. It's so stupid. Ugh, I hate it. Ugh. Now it's like I'd just do anything to go back.
It's amazing.
I would much rather raise my kids in that area than to raise them in a big city because
Well, yeah, dude. Like, you can't just let your kid go ride a bike right now in California. I
yeah,
can't. She can't just be like, hey, I want to go over to Shelby's house. And I'd be like, yeah, go. Tell her dad to sing you home at 9. You know,
well,
like
she's only a year and a half. I don't think she's 9
I,
yet.
yeah, I know what you mean. But you, so I
I
see
know what you're
the,
saying though.
you know, everybody, everybody has their goals and what they want to do with their life. And I've achieved the goals that I've wanted to do as a young man. And now I am a man and now I have a family. And I used to just fly off the, I just, I don't know what the right word is for it, but I was wild and I would just go. Like if there was an opportunity, I would go. Hey, my buddy Corey was coming back to California. I was like, "Can I ride with you?" Yeah. How you gonna get home? I'll figure it out.
I'll
Just
figure it
just
out. Fuck it.
just went to
I'm out of
California.
here.
I figured it out too. I ran into a pastor that was heading back to Kansas, and I rode with him. And
Nice.
so I'm just saying, like I always just flew off the handle, like or whatever the word is, and
Hey, you're supposed to be adventurous and crazy in your 20s. That's what you're supposed to do.
but I feel like when you have kids, your responsibility is to um, give them safety, shelter, all the stuff that they need. And I also feel like I want to give her friends. I want to give her bike rides. I want to give her freedom to
Hmm.
just do kind of whatever she wants to do. And I don't want to see her cooped up in an apartment, and I don't want to see her on TikTok all day, and I don't want to see
No,
her.
hell no.
I don't want to see any of that. And so I'm just gonna set up an environment for her to have freedom.
Yeah.
And I hope that when that time comes, I can give it to her. But
Oh man,
I will give it
me
to her.
too. Yeah.
But but yeah, James, um, I believe you'll figure it out with your family.
I hope so, dude. I
You
would
will.
I would love to. I would love to, man. It would be I want the same basically the same thing, man. Like we lived way out in the country, so I didn't have like I couldn't go across town or whatever, but I had an immense amount of freedom.
Yeah.
And I just can't I don't want them to not have that.
Uh, oh yeah.
Because we made so many stupid decisions when I think that there's a lot of value in young kids being allowed to make mistakes and being allowed to screw up. I don't know if you remember this, but there was a night where you, me, and a bunch of guys were driving around in that stupid green Dodge with paintball guns in the back of the pickup truck. I think we were chasing Jeremiah Williams for some reason and shooting his
Okay.
car or something.
Okay.
I don't remember. You literally were in the bed of my truck and you were shouting something about fucking V8 power or I don't remember what it was. But we
Okay.
were chasing these people around and you and your brother were in the back with the paintball guns and Brian Whitney stopped me in the middle of the street. He pulled out in front of me in some old beater truck he was driving and he got out of his truck and he ripped me my ass. And I probably deserved it. Truth be
Okay.
known, I definitely deserved it. I was driving like a complete idiot with a bunch of people in the back of the truck with no seat belts and paintball guns shooting people. Like it was the dumbest possible shit that you could have done. It was so stupid. And
I
I
don't.
deserved to get my ass chewed and be told that I was being the dumbest possible person I could be. but I didn't do that again. There's something to be said for young kids like that being allowed to be dumb and make mistakes and then get their ass reamed for it.
You got to be somewhat safe. But yeah, I mean, we were dumb. We were very dumb.
So much brain damage.
Yeah. I got stories I could go off about like throwing balloons at cars on top of the bank.
Yes.
I got so many stories of that, but I won't get into them tonight. But Jaymes, we're at like an hour and 50.
Nice.
I know you could talk and I could talk for a long time. I won't bring up that video because I don't want to get you all fired up.
Oh God, you'll get me all.
I don't want to do it right now.
Again.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I do have a question for you though. What are your thoughts on flat Earth?
Okay, so here's my deal with flat Earth. So
okay.
I don't have a single problem with people honestly questioning things. I think that's a really healthy and really good thing to do. I don't have a problem with it. My problem with flat Earth, science aside, which I'm not a science nerd, so I can't bring up any of the science arguments. But what I can say conclusively is that in the last 10 years, I have read and listened to a lot of books, a lot of podcasts, and a lot of the books in the podcasts that I listen to pertain to, which if you know me, very passionate about my beliefs, but a few of the books rather deal with a lot of things that deal with top secret and classified information. If you like audiobooks, Annie Jacobson is an excellent author. She is an investigative journalist. She has wrote a book on Area 51. She wrote a book on Operation Paperclip. She wrote a book on DARPA, DARPA is also known as the Pentagon's brain. They're basically the brains behind everything that goes on at the Pentagon. So, and then I can't remember which podcast it was you talked about Operation Northwoods.
It was the last one. Well, it was two of them. There was one with Matt Long. He's a military guy, and he said that got him into conspiracies because he read it. He was a Marine. He was like, dude, I'm pro America, pro this, and he's like, what? Our government did that? Like, it really fired him up.
Yeah. So, in all of those situations, those documents have been unclassified. Things have been leaked. Things have been revealed to the public. One of the things that Annie talks about in her book, The Pentagon's Brain, one of the very first things that she addresses was she talked to, I don't remember who, at DARPA, but she was like, you guys just released all of the technology. You just released everything for the railgun. Like, this has been highly classified, top secret for years. Why are you just now releasing this to the public? And the guy shrugged his shoulders and he goes, found something better. Like, so you're telling me this is where flat Earth falls apart for me. You're telling me that our government has had leaks on Operation Paperclip, Operation Northwoods. DARPA has had multiple leaks. The CIA has had multiple leaks. Edward Snowden left the NSA and exposed everything that they were doing. And in all of that time, not one person from Soviet Union, the United States, United Kingdom, nobody, not one person has ever come out to the public and leaked anything and said, yes, the Earth is definitely flat. They're hiding it from you, and they're all fucking liars, and they're all full of shit. Not one person has done that. That's where everything falls apart for me, because we have leaks for everything, but there's no leaks for that. That seems suspicious to me.
That's a good point.
That's where it falls apart for me. And I've been watching YouTube videos on it too, because I had watched them in the past, and then Josh's thing got my curiosity piqued again, and I've revisited them, and I can't recite any of the science to you.
Well, Josh is actually kind of being he's helping me out. Me and him are looking into emailing some flat Earth professional guys, podcasters, and trying to get them to come on the Drewcast on this platform and have me question them any questions that I do have about it.
Yeah.
To get their professional flat Earth opinion and to
that's
see.
where it all falls apart for me. Not one single leak.
Yeah.
And every airline pilot is in on it. Like, how does that work when they're flying above the Earth and they realize that it's flat? Like, what does the stewardess do when she sees out the window? She walk up to the pilot and like,
Well, I mean, you fly level. When you're flying, it's all level.
no, you don't. That's okay. That's okay. It's all right.
Well, Jaymes, you've been a solid guest, man. I have a question that I have for everybody at the end of the podcast, and it's do you have a memorable quote that stuck with you, for a long time? Kind of like how you said when Josh said, I want to stay here. This is where I want to stay. Like something that, you heard maybe 20 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, that you just often think about actually.
So I like history a lot, and I read a letter once that Thomas Jefferson wrote to a guy named, I think his name is Peter Carr. And he has a quote in there, and it goes something to the effect of, question with boldness the very existence of God. For if there be a God, he would surely prefer honest questioning to blindfolded fear. Which I think is a really great quote for just for Christians, and not only for Christians, but for regular people. Just, there's nothing wrong with asking questions and having questions about everything. That's why I have no problem with flat Earth theory people. None at all. If you're honestly questioning the world around you, power to you, dude. And that's what has led me to my stance on critical race theory. It's what's led me to my stance on the Second Amendment. It's what's led me to my stance on Roe v. Wade, all the things. Question everything.
I'm with you on that, 100%. And you should be able to. That's what freedom's all about. That's why we're not communists. Like that's a great. You're right. I mean, that's something that's that would stick with me too. Always be able to question everything. Heck yeah, dude.
Yep.
Jaymes, like I said, awesome guest. We'll have you on Lane and I's podcast. We still don't know what to name it. Maybe the welder and the tomato.
What was the one Lofgren suggested? I thought that one was funny.
Is Drew insane? Let Lane explain.
That one's way better than mine. Mine was just bullshit because he called himself a tomato that day.
No, yeah, we'll find out. We'll figure it out. I think Lane, he texted me 2 days ago, and he's back in Dallas, and he's kind of saying, hey, I want to fire this thing up. And basically that podcast is going to be us just talking about what's going on in our lives. Bubba, relax. What's going on in our lives, and what's going on, like movies, all that stuff. And then we're going to also video call a guest in, and we'll video call you in just to catch up and all that stuff.
Yep,
and
I'm down.
Maybe we'll have questions and videos. And the more I do this, the better. Like I said, I'm going to find different platforms like Riverside to record stuff on. So that way the audio is like crystal clear. And then not only that, but my share video can pop up better. And the more I do this, I think the better it'll get. And I think me and Lane will be able to experiment a lot because he's working for that Louder with Crowder guy. And he can actually get some good editors and all that stuff. Right now, everything's just up to me, and it's kind of been a fun little journey. And I'm going to kill my cat and eat him after this because he needs to just shut up. He is annoying the heck out of me.
All right, no, I hear you, dude. I've got a dog, and I'm the only one left that loves the dog.
I still love this cat, but man, he's got his leg cost me like $3,000 to cut it off and all sorts of stuff. He's lucky, man. He's lucky. I love him.
That is a lucky cat, dude.
He is a very lucky cat, but
$3,000. I'd be like, just give him the old euthanizer.
I know. He's had a good life, and I'm gonna see it to the end. But Jaymes, cool. I love you, G.
Yeah, dude. I love you too.
Yeah, man.
Had a blast.
Yeah, we'll do it. Well, like I said, we'll get you on. Is Drew insane? Let Lane explain.
There you go.
We'll definitely figure it out. Everybody, thanks for listening, and like I said, keep subscribing, keep telling some friends about it. I'm gonna have a plethora of guests on, and we'll have a good time doing it. But Jaymes, take it easy. Everybody else, take it easy. Have a good one. Peace, brother.